2 years ago, I was literally lying in bed smelling the burning rubber of car tyres, police cars, and thinking, what on earth is going on just up the road? You know, the streets were all on fire. And in the aftermath of that, of the London riots, I kept waiting for answers. I kept waiting for politicians and the media to kind of come up with some, at least, suggestions of what really caused them, what were the underlying causes, and it felt as though those causes weren't being explored. So I really wanted to just look into it myself. I spent a long time speaking to young people. So I went into schools and youth groups and charities and spoke directly to the young people, but I also spoke to the people who work with young people to get their views, not just on what happened around the riots and what caused them, but what's going on in young people's minds and what are the underlying frustrations. And actually I got a lot more than I expected directly from the young people who, after a while, really did open up. I think if the riots happen again, then the police will be better prepared. But as for whether the riots will happen again, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, because the external factors that young people are experiencing haven't got any better overall. There's still a lot of issues in young people's lives. I do think that there's a possibility that riots will happen again. A lot of the external factors that affected young people and contributed to the riots of 2011 are still present today. Youth unemployment is still 20%, that's 1 million young people still out of work. The councils are being forced to cut youth schemes. 50% of councils are being forced to cut children's and youth schemes. And if you look at Haringey, one of the boroughs that was worst affected by the riots, that was also a borough where 18 youth schemes had been cut or abandoned in the months preceding the riots. One of the reasons that young people got involved in riots was because they didn't have the voice, the outlet to express their frustrations. And I think social media is helping in that respect, but I think the mainstream media does need to pick up on that as well. I think there is a sense of complacency, perhaps, among politicians that we haven't seen another riot for 2 years, therefore we might not see another one. Although I am hearing things about how police are preparing for another one. I don't know what the honest truth is about their feeling. But I think if there is another riot, then I think probably police will be much better prepared, which was an issue in the 2011 one. But as for the aftermath and the way that politicians are going to deal with it, I imagine that we'll probably see the same stigmatisation of young people, the same broad brushstrokes being applied as though young people are bad, they're yobs, they're thugs, and they're mindless criminals, and they should be locked up and sentenced to, years and years, which again doesn't address the underlying causes of why people rioted.